All right. So let's talk about the thoracic cage. All right. The thoracic cage, okay, is made up of the thoracic vertebrae, sternum, and the ribs. Okay. The sternum is the front, is what we call the breastbone, the front bone. These are all of the ribs. All of the ribs. Okay? So the ribs in front get attached to the sternum through what we call the coastal cartilage. Remember we said cartilage is a little bit softer than the bone, so which allows for expansion of the chest. Alright? Posteriorly, the ribs get attached to the vertebral column. Right? So we have the rib cage, the sternum, and the coastal cartilage. The coastal cartilage is actually the one that gets attached to the sternum. All right? So very important. So it provides, it encloses the lungs, the hearts, and also because it extends downward, it provides protection for spleen, liver, and kidneys. Some protection because it extends downward a little bit. Remember that liver, spleen, liver, and kidneys, they are abdominal organs. While the lungs and the heart, they are the thoracic organs. Okay? Because it extends a little bit through what we call the coastal margins downwards. Okay? So it protects a little bit. Protect the spleen, liver, and the kidneys. Okay? So it also provides what we call attachment for the pectoral girdle. The pectoral girdle is the shoulder bone. Okay, the shoulder bone. Okay? And also some parts of the upper limbs. Alright? So it rolls downwards and all that. So the coastal margins, this is the margins, coastal margins. Okay? So we said it's from what? The inferior border of the thoracic cartilage, of the thoracic cage, sorry, okay? All right? Now, the ribs is divided into what we call the true ribs, and false ribs. Now, true ribs, why we call them true ribs is they have a direct attachment to the sternum. True ribs. So direct attachments to the sternum. And that's ribs 1, 2, ribs number 7. We call that true ribs because they have a direct attachment to the sternum. And we all remember that they are attached to the sternum by the coastal cartilage. Okay? Oh wait, I said true. My mind was saying ribs. So it should be true ribs. Then we have a false and floating. Okay? True, false, floating. The false ribs is from 8 to 12. All right? Please get this clearly. 8 to 12. Part of the 8 to 12, we have the floating. So the floating is now 11 and 12. 11 and 12. They are floating. Floating in the sense that they don't have any attachment to anything. Okay? They don't have any attachment to anything. So this is 11 and 12. All right? They are floating. And because they are floating, they are prone to being fractured. Because nothing is actually supporting them. So this is 11 and 12. All right? Again, false, 8 to 12. Floating, part of this false, 11 to 12. All right. So why we call this false ribs, it is because they don't get attached to the sternum. All right? So out of this 8 to 12, ribs 8 to 10 attached to their corresponding upper ribs. So here we go. So this is, let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the 7 ribs, they are attached to this sternum directly. Rib number 8 attached to rib number 7. Okay, to rib number 7. Rib number 9 attached to rib number 8. Rib number 10 attached to rib number 9. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason is they don't have a direct attachment to the sternum. That's why we call them false ribs. Of course, 8 to 12 is totally false. But 11 and 12 is the floating ribs. Floating ribs. Okay? So very important. All right. So when we look at the sternum it is like a.
Got it. Got it.
Weren't you recording?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
You're recording.
Oh, you've just been there for long. All right.
I even got you looking at me.
It's okay. All right. The sternum looks like a dagger. I don't know if I can say it. If I'm saying it right. Like a sword. You know, like a sword. It's got the handle. It's got the body and the taper end, right? Okay. All right. So when you look at it, let's get it this way. Okay. So the first parts, this all is the sternum. These first parts, we call it mandible. Mandible. Why? This is the body of the sternum, the body of the sternum. Okay? Why this place is called xiphoid process. Xiphoid process. Okay? Xiphoid process. So we call this, every one of us, we can feel the bone. Okay, we can feel it, but we're going to get there. See this depression right here? It's called mandibular notch. It's called mandibular notch. Okay? So mandibular notch or sternum notch. Remember the whole thing is sternum. So when you move from your sternum notch, the depression, you move down, you're going to feel a bump. That bump is what we call mandibulosternal angle, or we call it mandibulosternal angle. Okay, or we just call it angle. Okay, so that's the bump. And that bump is very important in the sense that it gives a landmark to how we can trace apex heartbeats. Okay? Because the heart is in between the lungs. So we got the lungs on the side. That's the left lung. Then we have the right lung inside. So the heart is actually sitting here. Okay? Sitting here. So the heart is sitting here. So that's the heart. Okay? So the tip of the heart, the lower tip of the heart is what we call the apex of the heart. So when we say apex heartbeat, because at that tip, you're going to see the thumping. Okay? It's beating. All right? It can help us to check that that person is still alive. What we call the apex heartbeat. So I said the mandibulosternal angle helps us in tracing the landmark for apex heartbeats. And the apex heartbeat is at, first of all, in between the ribs. We call it intercostal. This is rib number 1, rib number 2. Between rib number 1 and rib number 2 is intercostal. Rib number 1 and rib number 2, intercostal, intercostal, intercostal. So that's the first intercostal between rib number 1 and rib number 2. The second intercostal between rib number 2 and rib number 3. Second intercostal. Okay? So, bear that in mind. So, the landmark for apex heartbeat is 5th intercostal. IC stands for intercostal. Intercostal space, 5th intercostal space mid clavicular line. Okay? This is the lung, this is the heart. So this tip in every living individual, there is at 5th intercostal space, mid-clavicular line. So which means, this is the clavicle. Okay? So the clavicle forms a joint with the top of the top of the mandible. So we have clavicle this way. Okay? We have clavicle this way. So this is where they are forming the joints. Okay? We call it sternoclavicular joint. Sternoclavicular joints at this place. Okay? All right. So when we look at it, 5th intercostal space, which means mid-clavicular line. 5th intercostal space, mid-clavicular line. Remember that the heart is on the left side of the thorax, right? So to get this pulsation, the pumping of this apex heartbeats, we got to use this landmark. 5th intercostal space, mid-clavicular line. So which means, this is the clavicle. So the middle of it should be here, right? The middle of it. So which means, you trace it all the way down. Now, in tracing it all the way down, you have to get to 5th intercostal space to get that apex heartbeat. But how do we get that? Because in every individual, particularly a female, we got so much. So how are we going to actually trace it? All right? Huh?
You can feel.
But it's not really going to tell you that you are in the 5th intercostal space. Because if you think you're feeling this way, you probably are in the 2nd or the 4th. You don't know. All right? So, but the way to go about it is, you see this mandibular angle. Mandibular angle, rib number 2 joins with it. So this is R2. Why rib number 1? Rib number 1 is below, passes below the clavicle. Because of the clavicle and because of so much muscles here, it's kind of tough for us to actually being able to pinpoint rib number 1. Okay? But for rib number 2, because of this bump, we can always get it right. So when I'm going from my sternal notch or the mandibular notch, going down, I feel the bump. So when I move to the left, what I'm touching is rib number 2. Okay, rib number 2. So which means when I move below rib number 2, that depression there, that's my what? 2nd intercostal space. 2nd intercostal space. All right, remember that I got to put it in the middle, in the mid clavicle, because it's mid clavicle. Okay, so which means I feel the bump. That's 2. Go down. That's the 2nd intercostal space. Then make sure that it's in the middle. Okay, all right. Move down a little bit. 3rd intercostal space. 4th, 5th. So all the way down. All right. Of course, for a female, you got to lift the breast up. I know. You got to do that, right? That's why you got to say, Miss, so it's okay. I'm just going to check something here. I'm going to lift, you know, up. So oh, you just touch my breast without even telling me. Remember that? Yes.
You had to.
Communication is important. Okay? It's just like when you're going to put a Foley catheter in a man. You're going to tell him too. All right? Because, and again, Remember, while you are trying to pull the Foley catheter tube, can happen, so don't worry about it, it's fine. Just do your job. Just do your job. Don't worry about it, just do your job, okay? Very important, all right? I'm telling you.
It's the truth.
Yeah, it's the truth. Even some, you know, in urologists, when some man comes in there, when the man wants to put them, no, what about the nurse Z? It's not Z now around. She always put like Foley catheter. All right. So, everybody clear with that? Yes.
What's the third word?
That membro.
Is that membro?
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
Membro sternum. Angle.
Sterner.
Sternum. Yes.
With a G.
No, that's R-A. Sternum. Angle. All right, it says sometimes you just call it angle. All right, everybody clear with that? Okay. The fifth intercostal space, you're going to trace it from, excuse me, you're going to trace it from the ridge, or what we call the angle. When you're tracing it down, sternum notch, you touch the bump, which is what we call mambrosternal angle. Go to the left, that's the second. Below it is the second intercostal space.
Right.
Remember, first, second intercostal space. Make sure it's in the middle of the clavicle, mid-clavicle. Trace it all the way to fifth. Put your hands there. You can actually feel for your APS heartbeats. Okay? All right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I don't think I can feel yours.
Oh, no. You know, yours, don't worry. We got yours covered. We got yours covered. Okay? All right. So, the xiphoid process is the pointed end of it. That's the xiphoid process. It's the pointed end of it. All right? Now, if you're going to do your CPR, this area you're going to avoid because you can easily crack it. The xiphoid process. And they often said if you haven't cracked the rib, you haven't actually done the CPR very well. Which is not really the thing. But you don't really have to break a rib. But I know. All right? Okay. So, all right. The sternum notch, another name for it is suprasternal or manubral notch, or sometimes we call it jugular notch. This depression that you can feel. Okay. You feel for it. That's the jugular notch. All right. So posteriorly, we talked about that. All right, this is just how a rib is. You got the head that is attaching to the vertebral bodies. You got the angle, then you got what's the shafts, then getting attached. Okay, so all right, the vertebrae, we've talked about it, same thing, the body, the facets, spinal process, and all that. Okay, true ribs 1 to 7, false ribs 8 to 8. All right, floating is 11 to 12. Okay. All right, the pectoral girdle and upper limb. All right, the pectoral girdle we said is the shoulder girdle, which supports the arm. The arm, which supports the arm. All right, we have two bones, the clavicle and what? And the scapula. The clavicle or collarbone and the scapula, which is the shoulder blade. Okay, so the clavicle get attached to the sternum laterally. By what? To the sternum and laterally to the scapula. All right, which means we put it anteriorly and laterally to the scapula, to the sternum anteriorly. Okay, to the sternum anteriorly. So we call it sternoclavicular joints and acromioclavicular joint. That's where it attaches to the scapula. This is the scapula. Okay, this is the scapula. We call this bump that comes at acromial process, acromioclavicular joint, acromioclavicular joint. So that's where it attaches to the scapula. Acromioclavicular joints. Okay, acromioclavicular joints. All right. Why this one is sternoclavicular joint, the sternum and the clavicle, in the clavicular notch, this end here. So get attached to here. Okay. All right. So very important. So what are the different parts of the sternum? The different parts of the sternum. The sternum is divided into
Three.
all right, which are manubrium, body, and the xiphoid process. Xiphoid or xiphoid. Xiphoid process. Xiphoid process. Okay? Alright? So the scapula with the clavicle and humerus, they form a whole lot of joints. We have what we call glenohumeral joints. Remember, this is the humerus. Alright? Now, this space here is what we call the glenoid cavity. The glenoid cavity. Now, the glenoid cavity is not as deep, okay? So that is why the humerus is almost like his hand, just stamping it. That is why shoulder joints are prone towards injuries, because they don't have that real inward to actually enclose, to actually make it stable, okay? So we call it, we say they are prone to injury. The humerus and the glenoid cavity forms glenohumeral joints, shoulder joints, okay? Because it's loose, it can easily be dislocated because it's not as deep as the hip, okay? All right? So that's the clavicle. The clavicle is S-shaped, all right? So the sternum end is where it joins with the sternum. The acromion end is where it joins with the scapula. All right? So very important. All right? Again, it's frequently fractured because of being exposed, easily fractured. All right? The scapula is kind of resembles shoulder. It's a triangular shape. Okay? We have the three sides. Let's look at the picture. All right? So look at it. That's the scapula. This is the posterior surface. Why this is the anterior surface? The anterior surface stamps on the back of the thoracic cage, right? Because this is the posterior surface right here. Sorry, right here. And here is what is the anterior view, which kind of stamps on the thoracic cage. Okay? All right. So when you look at the posterior, we've talked about it that we have a space here. We also have some space here. So the spine demarcates the top space from the lower space. The top space, we call it supra, spine, supra above, spinous fossa. While this one is infra, below the spine, infraspinous fossa. Okay? So very important. So that is the acromion. Okay? That's the part of the lateral angle and superior angle. So this is the anterior surface. The anterior surface, the inside of it is subscapular fossa. So there is a muscle that occupies this area which helps part of the shoulder. Okay? We call it subscapularis muscle. Another muscle here, infraspinatus muscle. Another muscle here, supraspinatus muscle. We are still going to see later on in naming muscles, we name it according to the regions. Alright? So that's good about that. Alright, so the upper limb we have the brachium, which is the humerus. The antebrachium forearm, which got two bones, the radius and ulna. The radius and ulna, let's go there. So the radius and ulna, the radius is lateral. The radius is lateral, while the ulna is medial. So the radius can rotate on the ulna, what we call supination and pronation and supination. Pronation and supination. Supination is in anatomical position. So it can rotate on that, all right? Because that is a type of joint here, all right? So when you look at the radius has like a circular head, what we call the head of the radius. The head of the radius, okay? All right, the humerus also has the head, which joins with the glenoid cavity. It's got a whole lot of bumps. It's greater tubercle and all that, a whole lot of bumps. Then on the lower part, we'll talk about the condyles, epicondyle and the condyle, which helps to make attachments, okay? Now, the thing about the humerus, it has two necks. There is the surgical neck and there is anatomical neck. The anatomical neck is between the proper head and the bump here. that we call the greater tubercle. All right? The reason why we call this surgical neck is that is the place that can easily fracture. Surgical neck. That's why we call it that way. Surgical neck. Easily fractured. Okay? Everybody clear with that? All right? So, very important. All right, all right, the carpal bones. The carpal bones, they are the small bones of the wrists. There are 8 of them. Okay, there are 8 of them. What does it do? It allows for flexion, extension, and abduction. Flexion, extension, abduction. Abduction is towards the middle part of the body. Abduct away from the body. Okay? So because of those 8 bones, it allows for that. All right? So they are arranged in 2 rows. We have the proximal row and the distal row. All right? There are 8 bones. So the proximal, we have the scaphoid, lunate, tricutrium, and pisiform. Okay? Why? The distal row, remember when we say distal row, that's towards what? Huh? Distal. Proximal and distal. Away from where?
The connection, right?
Exactly, from the point of attachment. That's distal. Proximal is towards the point of attachment. So the proximal row, which is towards, and the distal row away. Right? So we have the trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, and hermit. Okay? But just understand that I mean, you don't really have to know all of the names, but at least just have an idea of what it is. Okay? So the pisiform, which is part of the proximal, is a sex point, which means it gets developed by age 9 to 12. Okay? Developed by age 9 to 12. All right, so here we go right here. So you can see the carpal bones. These are the proximal row. These are the distal row because it's going towards the fingers. Okay? So you can see how they are arranged. All right? Now, the metacarpus. The metacarpus is the palm. That's the palm, metacarpus. Then we have what? The phalanges, which is what? The fingers. Now, the phalanges is further divided into what we call the mid, proximal, and distal. Okay, phalanges. The mid, mid, proximal, and distal. Okay, so very important. Now, when we look at, I'm sorry? Yeah, middle. That's mid, distal, and the proximal. Everybody gets that? All right. But the thing about the first metacarpal, the first metacarpal don't have the middle one. It only has what? The distal and the proximal. So don't think this is, no, it is part of metacarpal, which is right here. So when you take this, okay, those are still the metacarpals. Everything else are the phalanges. Does that make sense? They are the phalanges, okay? So please understand that. So that you don't say that this is the proximal and that this is the middle and this is the distal. No, it's just the proximal and the distal. The rest as proximal, middle, and distal. Okay? So very important. All right. Metacarpals, phalanges. Look at that. All right. The pelvic girdle. Looking at the lower legs now. The pelvic girdle. So the pelvic girdle, it consists of 2 hip bones. Okay? 2 hip bones and 1 sacrum. Remember, the sacrum forms the posterior wall of it. So these are the 2 hip bones and 1 sacrum. All right? So they are joined together in front by pubic symphysis. The pubic symphysis allows for some movements. In childbirth, when we put the legs on the spirals, okay, it allows us to open the angle, what we call this angle. Okay, it allows us to open it because the head of the baby is going to descend Okay, because in this area we have the vagina. So it allows us to receive the head of the baby. Okay? So it allows some movement because it's just a cartilage that joins them together. Pubic symphysis. And also, depending on the position during the action, also it allows for proper. Alright, so you all know what I'm talking about anyway. Right, so we got 2 hip bones, 1 sacrum, and all that. So there is what we call sacroiliac joint. Sacroiliac joint. Now, the part that fangs out is what we call the iliac. That's the iliac. Let's cross. This is the iliac. Alright? Inside here is what we call the iliac fossa. Iliac fossa. Alright? So the iliac forms an attachment with the sacrum. We call it sacroiliac joint. Okay? It's called sacroiliac joint, which is right here. It is where the sacrum makes an attachment with the iliac. Alright? So when we move down, we're going to see there is a type of shape around here. Alright? So this is the pubic symphysis. This is one shape, this is one shape. Now, the thing about it, on the posterior part, there is a rough edges. We call that ischial tuberosity. I know some says ischial. You all know what I'm talking about, right? Ischial tuberosity. That rough edge, tuberosity. That actually allows us to sit down. It actually allows us to sit down. This rough edge, ischial tuberosity. Okay, it allows us to sit down with the help of the largest or broad muscle in the body, which is what? The gluteus maximus. That broad muscle, the muscle of what? Gluteus maximus, in which some will make a gluteus on top of this, so that's, you know.
Junk in the trunk.
Huh?
Junk in the trunk.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, so that's ischial tuberosity. Okay, so very important. It allows us for sitting. So we call this pelvic inlets. Pelvic inlets. Pelvic inlets. Okay? Because in OB, that's very important. In OB, that's very important. Right? We call it pelvic inlets. Right? So you can see the pelvic inlets. Okay? That's the pubic, interpubic disc. That's pubic symphysis. Right? Now, the pelvis is divided into what we call greater pelvis, which is the false, and the true pelvis, which is lesser. Right? The greater pelvis, it is actually the flare between the hips. This is the 2 hips. All of this area, that's the greater pelvis, but that's actually false. All right? But the true pelvis is actually the one that is actually below narrow and below it, which means we call this greater pelvis. But it's actually the false one. The true one is actually here when we go move inside. Okay? We move inside. Alright? So we talk about the brain, the margin, the outlets. The outlets from the lesser pelvis, that's the outlets right here. Okay? Outlet right here. Where we have all of those urethra, the vagina, and the rectum coming out through. Okay? Alright? Very important. Okay? So that's the iliac. Now, this hole here, which houses the humerus, is what we call acetabulum. Acetabulum. All right. Remember we said of the shoulder girdle, we said the part that the humerus joins with, that part is what? It's not as deep as this. Okay, the glenoid cavity is not as deep. But this one is much deeper, so which gives a whole lot of support for the hip joints. So hip joint doesn't usually dislocates unless there is a congenital problem. When I say congenital problem, what does that mean? Congenital. Born with it. Born with it. The baby was born with it. Okay? Congenital problem. Okay? So you can see the ischial tuberosity, which we talked about. Right? So we call all of this the ischial. Okay? That's the acetabulum. So here we call it, this hole here is called obturator foramen. See this hole? This hole here is called obturator foramen. And it allows for the passage of nerves for the blood vessels to exit to supply the lower limbs. That's obturator excuse me, foramen. Okay? All right, so ilium, ischium, pubics, talk about that. All right. The difference between the male and the pelvic, male and female pelvic. The male pelvic, wow, this part is really hot. You like it because it's not cold, right?
Yes.
All right. So the male pelvis is what is heavier and thicker. It's heavier and thicker. While the female is wider and shallower. Why? Because it's useful for the needs, right? For the needs. For pregnancy and childbirth, the inlet and outlet allow for what? For the passage of the infant's head. Very important. Okay? Very important. All right. So these are the features between the male and the female. The male and the female. All right. The lower limb. The lower limb. Let's look at the picture. So we have the femur. Okay? We got the head and the neck. This is the true neck. And also here it is what? The surgical neck, which can get fractured. Excuse me. So this is the anterior part. This is the posterior view. That's the patella, the knee cap. Okay? So I think that's just the main thing with that. All right? All right. The lower part, we have what we call the tibia and what? The fibula. The fibula is the lateral one. It's much slender. Okay? The tibia has the upper end, which helps to articulate with the femur. The lower end of it, okay, which helps to articulate with the tarsal bone, the ankle bones. Okay, the ankle bones. All right. So there is a sort of membrane between the fibula and the tibia. Right. Slight movements, but not as much as the radius and the ulna, which does pronation and supination. Okay, so I think that's just the main thing there. All right, the ankle and the foot. The ankle and the foot. So when you look at the ankle is what we call the tarsal bones. Okay, the reason that is different from the carpal bones is because the carpal bones don't bear a load, but while the ankle bones bear with what? A load, right? We're standing on it. All right. The calcaneus, that's the heel bone, all right, where the tendon is attached to what we call the Achilles tendon. The Achilles tendon, okay, what is called the Achilles tendon. The talus is what? That's the superior tarsal bone. The talus, the superior tarsal bone, which forms the ankle. So we also have the proximal roll. Let's push it back. Okay, there we go. There we go. So the proximal roll, because all of these, they are the tarsal bones. They are the tarsal bones. Okay, the tarsal bones. Okay, we have the proximal rolls right here, all of this. Then we have the distal rolls. The distal rolls are the ones that are attached to what's the phalanx. Okay, they are attached to the phalanges. Okay, they are attached to the phalanges. What we call the toes. The toes. Okay, what we call I'm sorry. The phalanges, yes, they're the toes. Then part of the part of the toe is what we call the metatarsal. Metatarsal. Okay, metatarsal. Okay, metatarsal. All right. Everybody clear with that? Okay. All right. So we need to understand something that when a baby is developing, this is actually how the limbs are, and eventually they rotate this way. They rotate this way. Okay, then form the real upper limbs and lower limbs. Okay, very important. All right, the arches of the foot. The arches of the foot helps with a whole lot of, it does a whole lot of function. Okay, if a patient doesn't have this arches, we say the patient has what? Flat foot or flat feet. Okay, very important. So we have some tendons or ligaments which actually helps to bind all of those bones together so that it can form the arch. So the arch allows us for proper standing. Because the patient that has a flat feet has difficulty with walking. Okay, very important. So we have the medial arch, We have the lateral arch on the lateral side, then we have what? The transverse. So, the medial, this is it, goes all the way here. The lateral goes all the way here. Then the transverse goes across. So it kind of helps us to form this way, so that it can help us in standing, so that we don't have a flat feet. Okay, very important. We don't have a flat feet. So that's just the main thing. Helps in that. All right. So now the flat feet, what we call pes planus. It can be due to excessive weights, or when there is a what? A repetitive stress, or sometimes when there is what? Congenital weakness of all of these ligaments that are actually binding all those bones together to form those shape. Okay? So that can be due to that. All right. So adaptations and all that, not really a big deal. Okay. All right, let's take another break. Then we come back for chapter 9.